It would seem as though.
Hi. Hola, chica.
Hi. How's it go?
Well, it's going.
And girl, it
is going and going. Welcome to another week of It Would Seem As Though, the podcast where we talk about anything, everything, and nothing.
Mostly nothing.
I'm Vesta.
I'm Annika.
And
welcome back to the nightly news.
and I'm just like full of something. I'm irritation.
Oh, okay.
All the things. I don't know.
I don't know. Okay.
Life,
shit.
You know, life is... yeah. First, I want to start with something really light.
Oh, good. Okay.
So, anybody who really knows me, and I'm sure I've talked about it on here, knows that I don't like scary movies.
Mm-hmm.
I used to before I had children.
Yeah. I've seen many with you.
Yeah. And then, after having children, I became a big puss about it, and I just couldn't, I couldn't. Because I would get too freaked out.
Yeah.
Especially anything that could really happen.
Sure.
If it's like some serial killer, stalker, blah, 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 child, whatever. I can't do it. I can't have it.
Agreed. Not agreed.
However,
sure.
Yeah. The other day, I thought I'd put on my big girl panties and watch
Salem's
Lot. Yes, think it was all. Sounds like
words.
The new Salem's Lot.
Yeah.
I remember watching the original one in the late 79, I think. On television. So, of course, on television it's not terribly scary, especially in the 70s.
I love that. I love it so
it's
much.
good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then there was a remake of it that was also a series.
Was that in the 90s? Probably.
I think it was in the 2000s, because I think I watched it with T. But it was also pretty good. And whatever. Here's the funny thing. So I watched this movie, and I had told my husband, I was like, listen, I might at any point just opt out and start staring at my phone and listening to videos or something if it gets to be too much.
Yeah.
But I didn't. What I did do is I have this habit of when I'm nervous or whatever, I will hold the edge of my shirt and just rub it, like because I'm stressing out or whatever.
Totally.
Unlike my daughter, who will do it until she has holes in her clothing, I just do it for that little tactile whatever.
I get that.
And so through the second half of the movie, because the first half is just setting everything up.
Yep, setting the tone.
Yeah. And then the second half is all monsters and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I practically rubbed a hole in my shirt, but I'm like stressed, but not so scared I couldn't watch it.
Totally.
We get to the end of the movie, and I asked T, I was like, what'd you think? He's like, it's fine.
Yeah.
Fine? And he goes, yeah, I mean, it didn't really go anywhere. It didn't have a lot of peaks and valleys. It just kind of did its thing and whatever. And Grace was like, yeah, it wasn't scary at all in the mall. So my 15-year-old found it less scary than I did.
Yeah. I wonder how scary. I'm so interested in it because it's one of the first Stephen King books I read because I was reading them in chronological order, which I still am. I just took a beat from reading because who can right now? Anyway, and I loved it. Salem's Lot is a really good book. I watched like the original TV series or movie, miniseries, whatever, and then I watched the remake as well. I like it. I think the story's really good. And I know it's not like a new vampire story, because that's the whole plot line. Right. But it's like small town vampire story. I just think the imagery is great. I just really enjoyed the book. So I'm excited to watch it. I have not yet. And I guess I didn't realize it was a movie. Because I asked you, well, what episode are you on? You're like, it's a movie. And I said, oh.
Yeah, I thought it was a miniseries as well.
Yeah.
And then I clicked, I was like, oh, no, it's just 2 hours movie.
Okay, just a movie. But that's fine. I do enjoy the Stephen King often. So
what I like about TV now is that a movie can be 8 to 10 hours long and tell more of the story, and they just break it up into episodes. I actually really enjoy that, because if it's a story I have read, I enjoy that there's more of that in there.
Agreed.
As opposed to having to whittle it down to 2 hours-ish. But I also don't want to sit and watch a 3-hour movie.
No, totally. I get all that too. And I think TV, I don't know, at some point, I would say within the last decade maybe, I think TV has surpassed like film and
in a lot of ways.
And in a lot of ways. And the fact that their storytelling can be hours long. In a movie you have to condense it. And I think people prefer well, I could watch this more detailed, more interesting story sitting in the comfort of my own home over the course of however long I want to watch it, opposed to I need to sit through this entire movie. Because for me, if I don't... It's hard for me to stop a movie. It has to be intentional. We have to stop at a part where it's low, and then come back. There are, and I know people who pause movies often, or will stop it and watch it again the next day or whatever, and I just hate it. Unless it's like, oh, I'm too tired, let's pause it here, and then it's an intentional thing. But
yeah, I also have to stop at a stopping point.
Yeah.
It has to be, okay, it was the end of that scene, it was the end of that day, it was the end of that conflict, whatever it was. All right, I'm good stopping there, and then we'll pick it up again tomorrow, and I probably have to run it back just a tiny bit, just to get me start back into it. But yeah, that's what I love about episodic television that is like now, is like, usually a miniseries is anywhere from 4 to 13 parts, and it's so much more detailed. It's so much more, just can really delve into all the bits and bobs of the story that you might not get otherwise.
Agreed.
Because someone might be, that's not an important detail. We only have 2 hours to tell the story. Leave it alone.
Yeah.
When I read my kids the Wizard of Oz series, and it's quite a long series, but I read them every one of the books. But as I was reading it, I thought the Wizard of Oz itself, the very first, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, that story, would be perfect episodic television because it's not a terribly long book, but it is very detailed. And there are so many things that it's like, if you did this, it could be really done well. It could be a good story. And older people would like it because that book is creepy. There's a lot of creepy shit that happens in that book. And you could, amp up the creep factor just a little bit, but tell the entire story because L. Frank Baum was a really good storyteller.
I know.
Now, that being said, when you're reading the books, you're like, oh, this is now a little problematic.
Yeah,
this
just a little bit.
Because it was written 100 plus years ago.
Sure.
And so, of course, it's problematic.
Yeah.
But also, when we read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, it was like, this is just flat out racist.
Honestly, I can't with The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
The kids wanted to read it, so I read them the entire series. And I don't know my brain. It wasn't until I got to the very end, I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Now we're just in heaven, and this was just a big allegory for the Bible the whole time. Yeah. And I said that to other people, and they're like, you didn't get that sooner? I'm like, I really didn't. Until the end when they're like beating you over the head with it, going, you're now in heaven. I mean, they didn't say the words, but that's where you are. And I was like,
I hate it.
Ugh.
Yeah.
I felt kind of cheated.
Yeah, girl. Yeah, not a fan. And C.S. Lewis, who wrote it, he was obviously a Christian.
Yes.
But for a long time he wasn't. Do you know for a long time he was an atheist, and then he had a spiritual experience, and the spiritual experience he had was his wife dying.
Oh.
Yeah, and then deep depression, and perception is reality. What people think they see. What your brain tells you you see. And so often, that's when you get people who become very devout later in life Christians. Like born again is when they have like a spiritual experience. And a lot of things trigger it, but like his wife dying was, what was it? I don't know. I wonder what The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, like what that universe would have looked like had he not been influenced by Christianity. You know what I mean? Obviously everyone, we're all influenced by Christianity, but it depends on how we view it. Like a lot of people view Christianity as like a positive whatever, and some people view it as neutral, some people view it as negative. But I think if he just took it as like influential opposed to trying to proselytize through his fantasy world. But yeah, on one hand it's disappointing. It's disappointing. Like that spiritual experience was your wife died, and then you believed in God, and I'm assuming you believe in God because your wife is dead, right? Like,
so you're just like, I hope that she went to heaven or whatever.
She's with God now, right?
As
whatever.
opposed to just rotting in the dirt.
Yeah, and I so it makes sense. But
I heard a really great thing this morning. I was listening to Very Delta, and Jinx Monsoon was on it. Love Jinxie. Mm-hmm. Jinx Monsoon, international drag icon, who is from Portland.
Yeah.
But they were talking about religion. Okay. And she said that if you're one of those people who believes your religion is the only one that counts, the only one that matters, that really just kind of makes you a bad roommate for the rest of the people on Earth.
Yeah.
You're the one, it's like, you're the roommate who people are like, really, you ate all the food and paid for none of it?
Yeah.
You're that kind of person who's like, you're arrogant and you're foolish and nobody wants to be around you.
Well, I would say that it wouldn't be uncommon for people who are devout in their religion to believe that their religion is the truth, right? In the world where there is so much choice, unless you live in a place that is like, heavily influenced by something, like being Muslim or being Jewish or being Christian, like is heavily influenced by the region, you can kind of choose anything in most parts, right? God damn it, what did you say? Because I had something to say.
That if you believe your religion is the only one, it's the true religion, then you're a bad roommate to the other people in the world.
Right. I think that is true contextually, because I think it depends on how you react to that, right? Like, your religion is true and all of these other ones are false, again, if everyone believes that, fine, but how do you react to heretics, to others, right?
Yeah.
Because how you react to the other people is really telling of your religion, I think.
Absolutely.
If you feel like you need to enact violence and hate and discrimination and prejudice and death on people based on who they believe in, then that is incredibly dangerous, and yes, you're a shitty fucking roommate. But if you are just the average Jewish person or Christian or Buddhist or whatever, and you think your religion is the one true religion, but you still aren't going to, like, batter others, you're still like, you can believe what you want. That's fine.
Well, and that's how, my thought is, if you are, and I'm going to say Christian because they're usually the worst about it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a Christian and you think this is the answer, this is the one God, this is the one religion, but you keep it to yourself, or you just say, hey, Annika, I know you and I had a talk about religion, and this is how I feel.
Totally.
But don't go, and unless you change your ways, you're going to hell, you horrible, it's like, if you want to say, this is what I believe, that's fine. But as soon as you start telling other people why their religion is wrong, or why it's stupid, or why it's whatever, you've crossed that line.
Agreed. And I've had, because I'm not religious, so I don't know if you know that, I like to say that I love religion, but I love the religion as like the storytelling factor, the ritual behind it, and I like the study of religion. I'm not a religious. I don't have any religiosity. I don't go to church. I don't follow any God. But I have a couple questions. At the least, aren't Christians and Jews and Muslims, aren't you all cousins?
Yeah.
And at most, you're brothers, right? Because here's the thing. Don't you think the God that Christians are praying to and the God that are in Allah, because that's the thing, is a lot of people are like, oh, well, Islam, they're praying to Allah. Allah is just the word
for God.
For God,
yes.
And that's like when people say shit like, oh, they say Allahu Akbar, that just means God is good. They're just speaking like Arabic, right? They're speaking a different language. Anyway, but the God that Jewish people believe in, are they not the same God?
They are. Well, and that was, I know that I've told you this, that when I talked to one of my friends who is Jewish.
Yeah.
And she was telling me some of the things about her religion that I didn't know. I knew that the Jewish church believes the Old Testament.
Mm-hmm.
And they also have the Torah.
Yeah.
But they believe the Old Testament, and that's where it ends. They don't believe the New Testament. They don't believe Jesus was the Son of God.
Mm-hmm.
They don't believe that there is a heaven or hell.
Yeah.
They, so their belief is you are good on earth because you should be good on earth. Mm-hmm. Not because there's some golden carrot at the end of the rainbow where you're like, well, now I get to go to this place with magical harps and angels, and which sounds dreadful. But,
oh, God.
The idea that they paint in the Bible of heaven with, streets of gold and all this shit, it's like...
who is everyone blind?
Right, why do you...
Aren't we closer to the sun?
why do you need gold streets?
Also boring.
Well, right.
I don't want that.
And it's also, I think everybody, if you ask everybody...
Yeah.
Don't think about what you were taught as a child. Don't think about what you learned in church. What would your ideal heaven be? everyone's going to be different.
No.
You know, even if it's just slightly different from the next person, everyone's going to have something different. So heaven, how could it be one thing if it was real?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know.
Unless the thing is it's always different. Or everyone gets their own personal, like Mormons get their planet. Maybe everyone gets their own personal, like,
well, and
simulator.
The other thing about Judaism
oh my God, bless me.
Blessings, my child.
Thank you.
Is that it is the same God, except he didn't go on to become a cool new hip God like in regular Christianity, where it's like, well, you know, after Jesus came to earth and died for his sins, then he was like, okay, I just need to chill out.
Yeah, it's all just...
and, you know, not be such an angry, vengeful, egotistical God.
I just think a lot of the hate that is Judeo-Christian, Islamic, inter-hating bullshit is like sibling rivalry to the extreme, though, right? Because if you were all worshiping different gods, it would make more sense to me, right?
Yes, absolutely.
It would make far more sense to me if you're like, well, I worship Zeus, and someone else said, like, I worship Ra, or whatever, right? And I worship God. And then you guys all fought over, like, who was the true God. But the fact that you all worship the same person, and you're fighting, and you don't like each other, the only thing that is different about any of you is how you do it. How you choose to be religious is the difference. And that affects everything. How often you go to church or mosque or synagogue or whatever. Or what you can and can't eat, what you can and can't do. You know what I mean? What you should and should not believe in. But like, overall, the tenets aren't that different.
No.
And overall, you believe the same thing. I don't care how you need to swallow it. It's the same medicine, bitch. You're all taking that same pill. You know what I mean?
But here's the thing that's always puzzled me.
Yeah.
Why, if I believe this, do I have to have you believe it too? Why is it so important to me that you believe the exact same thing that I do, and you follow it, and you do all of it? It's like, I understand that in the Bible, it's, you know, you're supposed to then share the word of God. Well, sharing it is fine, but beating someone over the head with it and saying, if you don't accept this, I have to kill you, or you are now an outcast, or whatever, it's like, that's not what that's supposed to mean. That's just supposed to be, hey, here's what I believe, here's what I learned, I'd like to share that with you. And then if the other person's like, no thank you, okay.
Yeah.
And that should be the end of that. Yeah. That should never be, well, because I have this religion, and I know my religion's right, I'm going to also make all of the rules for the world.
Totally. Yeah. You know, I feel conflicted about several things in regards to religion, because on one hand, people together doing a thing in a ritual or whatever is powerful, right? Think about, like, witches in a coven, right? That has power in it. I think in the world today, thinking that all of Christianity is homogenous and you perform these certain tasks in certain ways, or Jesus isn't listening, or whatever it is, you know, or, you know, to be a Muslim, you need to perform. It's hard for me to conceptualize that religion or spirituality or whatever is that organized. I know that there's organization to nature in the natural world. We see it every single day, but it's hard for me to believe that the world, the ether, you know what I mean? The world of witchcraft or religion is like hierarchical. These are the set steps. To get your sins cleared today, just do these 7 steps. You know what I mean? It feels...
Just in $19.99 in 3 easy payments.
Yeah, 3 easy installments with $34.99 shipping and handling. But it feels like it cheapens it to me. I get people in the congregation. I get, you know, community, brothership, fellowship, getting together, whatever. But how we've turned religion into... I don't know, like a force to be bought and sold and not actually practiced as some sort of like cookie cutter ideology is just kind of gross to me. Because if you ask me, what do you believe in? Like religiously, spiritually, nothing that is written down in those books.
Right.
Genuinely. Like nothing that anyone who's going into a building today am praying about. Those are not my tenets.
No.
Not at all. And like I don't claim a thing. I don't claim to be like, oh, I'm a Satanist or whatever. Like I don't claim anything because I believe in fucking the Technicolor Dreamcoat. You know what I mean? I dream in a patchwork blanket of things.
Yeah.
It's hard for me.
Same. My belief system is really, if you had to put it down on paper, is a whole bunch of stuff that is not organized, nor is it religion. It's a bunch of things like, well, I believe this thing to be true.
Yeah.
I believe these tenets of religion to be true. Like, I believe in the golden rule.
Sure.
I believe you should treat other people how you want to be treated.
Yeah.
Unless you want to be abused. And then don't
Listen,
treat
I treat myself how I want to be treated, and if people don't treat me that way, to Delu, motherfucker. You know what I mean?
Well, and that's also it, is I'm not going to be around someone who,
Yeah.
especially, once you get a little self-esteem and you realize your worth,
Yeah.
I'm not going to be around someone who treats me poorly.
No.
I'm not going to be around someone who mocks my beliefs or who... and that's my choice as an adult. It's like if I went to your church and your church said, well, everything you think is wrong, I'd be like, okay, well, I don't need to come back here.
I spent a lifetime of that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, and it's also like one of the tenets of Catholicism that I hate is the confession.
Yeah.
Because all week long you can be a total douchebag.
Yeah.
But if you on Saturday night go to confession and say, forgive me, Father, for I have sinned, blah, 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 and then talk about your sins, they absolve you of your sins, make you say some Hail Marys or whatever.
Yeah, whatever it is.
And then you're free to go back to doing your regular bullshit on Monday.
Yeah.
And if the thing that I have taught my children since they were old enough to understand words is if you apologize for something and then go right back to doing it, you're not sorry. If you go, oh gosh, I didn't mean to do that, and then you try very hard to never do it again. That says to me, that's real contrition. That's like, I'm actually sorry.
Yeah.
I actually feel bad that I did this thing, and I'm going to work really hard to change that in myself. But just going every Saturday and going, well, I did it again. I cheated on my wife.
Yeah.
I,
stole money.
I stole money from the business. I did whatever. Yeah, and now I'm going to say 24 Hail Marys and 3 Our Fathers and whatever.
It's crazy.
That to me is now is just a ritual.
Yeah.
And it's no longer something that people, I think, really think about.
Right.
Where they're going, I
should really
probably should have some ownership of my own bullshit.
Yeah.
And I should change that as opposed to just going, hey, Father, but just so you know, I also give a lot of money to the church. So
I also can't imagine, though. I wonder psychologically if it's different, too. You go, and you're like, oh my God, this week or this month, or I don't go as often as I should or whatever. And then you say all these things out loud that you know you shouldn't have done. So now you're not only saying them out loud, so you get to hear it, you're saying it out loud to somebody else. So now you're, like, completely accountable. You know what I mean? To a degree. Granted, you're not.
But then they're absolving you of it,
I know.
so you're not accountable.
But, like, the thought of saying it out loud, I think it would fuck with me, right? If I did bad things or whatever, did things I needed to confess to, and I think even just that process of saying it, I think it would give me relief, but I also think it would make me, like, oh, God, who did I sleep with? You know what I mean? Like, what did I do?
Well, but that also brings into question what is a sin. Because... as we've discussed before, we both slept with a lot of people. And I never felt any kind of way about it other than, well, that wasn't very fun. Or that was a waste of my time.
Yeah.
But never like, oh my God, I've sinned in the eyes of the Lord or whatever. It's like, well, that was not as fun as I thought it should be.
Oh, yeah.
Or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Or, God, that was a really stupid choice. That thing I just did was actually dangerous.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of thoughts that I had about never, God was looking at me and God is mad now.
No, I've never made a decision in my life and thought about whether God was approving or not. Never. Not once. I don't care whether this being in the sky thinks what I do is moral or not, considering that motherfucker. Who is he to speak on morality? I'm so sorry. I know everyone thinks he's like so great, but bitch, if I decided to kill as many people as he did and act the way he did and then say, sorry, here's my son, murder him instead, I'm pretty sure you all have words to say about it.
It's like the story of Job. in the Bible.
Girl.
All of these things were done to Job to
Yeah.
test his faith
Yeah.
and to test his patience. And it was like, so God gave him test after test after test. Why?
Mm-hmm. It wasn't
Why?
like...
So you fucking tortured him to say, well, look how good he did.
Yeah.
He was faithful to me, and his spirit never broke. But so you were trying to break his spirit. What kind of fucked up shit is that?
Girl, and wasn't the last thing, like, kill your son? Kill your kid?
I think so.
And then an angel stopped him.
It's been a long time, yeah.
Yeah, an angel stopped him as he's, like, about to make the blow or whatever. But God was like, oh, okay, just kidding. But you believe.
But you were going to do it because I said so. Oh, my God.
Yeah, and people read that story and said, oh, I love God. People read that story and said, God is good. What?
Well, which is why people, I don't hear it anymore when people say, ooh, she has the patience of Job. Well, it's like, Job was tested beyond where any human, obviously it's folktale, but beyond where any human should have been tested. Mm-hmm. And it was all just that. It was a test.
Well, just joking. Also, what was his mental health like directly after that? Is what I want to know. Was he just a broken man then? Was he paranoid?
Well, what about the story of Moses?
I don't.
He gets all those people to the promised land, but he's never allowed to go in because he questioned God. So I'm sorry, because I asked you a question. Now I can never. All the rest of my people are like, well, I guess you can go in.
Yeah.
So this place that I promised you would be fantastic, and you'd no longer be slaves, and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But I have to stay out here in the desert
because
I questioned God.
Because I had some questions. Well, okay, so one of my favorite things, and this is proof to me that if you are reading from one angle, like Christian or Muslim or Jewish, if you're reading from one angle of the Bible or the Holy Book, you're going to only get part of the picture, because we're going to talk about, what is it called? Sodom and Gomorrah?
Yeah.
It was, what's his name? Who was the man?
Lot.
Yes, and his wife, right? Blah, blah, blah. Everyone knows what happens. Angels come. Everyone wants to fuck the angels inside the house. That
You say everyone knows that part, but I remember going to church my whole entire growing up. I never got that part of the story.
The preacher didn't tell you that the angels were sexy. So I'm going to give you the adult SparkNotes version.
Okay.
So this town, or these towns, Sodom and Gomorrah, are two separate towns.
Right. But both full up with sin.
Oh, you think Las Vegas is Sin City? People are just fucking each other in the street. There's murder. There's whatever. All the things that you think are wrong and debauched, and honestly, for ancient times, God knows what that is. You know what I mean?
Right.
They're like pooping in a hole outside, and they're like, oh, witchcraft or something. I'm not really sure. But angels roll up, to see what the house be, and to see if there's any good in the town, right? All these people are like horny leches who've been drinking at the pub all day, and they're sick of the normal people they sleep with, so they see those hot angels, and they want to sleep with the angels. But Lot and his family, and Lot has 2 daughters and a wife.
Right.
Bring them in, safe harbor, blah, blah, blah. And, we also have to put this contextually. Back in olden times, right, in the ancient world, if you brought somebody in your house as a guest, you offered them protection. You could not harm them, right? That is the whole thing. Ancient kingdoms and shit, there's rules to all of this, right? Anyway, blah blah. So then the Bible story goes, no, Lot goes outside and goes, no, go away, you can't have the angels, they're too hot, but they're angels, whatever. But here, have my daughters. You have daughter 1 and daughter 2. But they don't want the daughters. They want the hot angels.
Well, sure.
So
if you're offered a hot angel, wouldn't you take that over a boring daughter?
Boring, poor daughter. Boring. Or bad acting or whatever.
Sorry, but if you have sex with an angel, do you then have angelic powers?
Do you not also... Girl, the story of Enoch, that's the whole story where angels had sex with women and gave birth to the Nephilim, which are giant half-breeds. So, no. So going back, I get fuzzy about this part, but the angels are like, okay, Lot's family, you guys get out, because we're gonna destroy the towns because they're so full up of sin, but get out and don't look back, right? Don't look back at the towns or destruction. Well, so Lot, his wifey, and his 2 daughters are booking it out of town, and his wife looks back, and she's turned into a pillar of salt, right?
Right, because that makes sense.
Right, and then the town is disintegrated, blah, blah, blah. Later, when Lot and his 2 daughters are away, the daughters get him drunk and then sleep with him, so they can carry on his children, his seed, his whatever. And that is not a story that should be taught in the Bible. But if you read it in the Quran, there's more to why Lot's wife was a dirty bitch. Because it turns out she was, like, encouraging town folks. She was like, oh my God, I'll get you these angels. Like, oh my God, break in my house, or meet me at midnight by the creek, or whatever it is, right? So she was a dirty bitch, and so she deserved to be turned into a pillar of salt, and they gave her one last chance. And so, like, my point is, that was the SparkNotes version. But my point is,
I love the SparkNotes version.
If Christians read the Bible, and then read the Quran, right, and then read, I don't know, read all the religious texts for your cousin religions, right? Because I'm sure it will, I don't know, fill out a lot of this story.
Sure.
I think that's disappointing to only feel like you're getting half the story. The fuck? Give me more.
Right.
Anyway, so that was my example of, if you read one book, bitch, you getting one chapter of an entire story, and they're leaving out, like, details, you know?
So what I got from that story is Lot's wife was the first salty bitch. Why are you so salty?
Quite literally. Quite literally.
Why are you so salty?
Since she had it coming.
Well, clearly.
Clearly, she was like, you want to fuck an angel? $5. You can fuck the angel, have my house.
$5? That would have been a lot of money back then.
That's what I'm saying. And I don't even know how much a dollar is to, I don't know, shekels or... what do they
need? 3 sticks and
I don't know. What kind of currency?
A duck, maybe.
A duck. What was the currency?
Maybe 3 ducks and a sheep, and you can have an angel.
Because that's in the Old Testament, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what was their currency?
I don't know.
In Lotsville.
I wasn't alive then.
Oh, in Sodom and Gomorrah.
Right. Lotsville.
I know.
It's all crazy.
That's where we get the fun word sodomy.
I know.
Isn't that fun?
It is right out of the Bible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good Lord.
I know. Anyway, Bible stories with the intercut.
Right. If you want your children to... I know I talked about this before, but when Parker went to a religious preschool
called Gethsemane,
named after the Garden of Gethsemane Lutheran. And when he graduated preschool, they gave him a child's Bible, which just, Cliff Notes on some of the better known stories. What I got from reading it was like, and this thing happened, and God was, angry about it, and he killed everybody.
Yeah.
People stopped worshiping God, and he was mad, so he killed everybody.
Yeah.
Nobody was talking to God anymore, so he killed everybody. It's like, I'm sorry, but how egotistical do you have to be to go, why is no one talking to me? I'm going to create a crisis, so then people will start praying to me again. And that is the overwhelming theme of the Old Testament.
Yeah, you see, what's real daggum irritating to me is...
Not daggum.
Daggum, how we, not me, but nowadays it's instilled in children more often to, like, say you're sorry and to learn to share and to be nice, and if you're angry, talk about it, like... trying to be more emotionally attached and like regulated. And so they're reading that Bible story as like, God got mad and killed everyone. God got mad and killed everyone. God got mad and killed, and like, are they thinking, why didn't you just be like an adult and say you're sorry, or say that you were upset, or you know what I mean?
Right.
Are we thinking that these stories are teaching children to love God? Because to me,
that didn't really happen until the New Testament, because the Old Testament was just meant to scare everybody.
Yeah, which is great. But it's funny to give those to children. Don't you think you would sugarcoat it a little bit?
A little bit. Somehow, I think, because I know that one of them was like, and this, I think, is a really true kind of thing, is that people are much more likely to pray and worship and do all the things when times are bad.
Yes, of course.
So when times are good, you kind of forget about it. It's like, well, everything's going great. Knock wood, do whatever, throw salt over my shoulder, whatever.
Which is nothing to do with Christianity.
No. But it's like, things are going well now. I don't need to talk to anybody. All my things are happening the way they should. But then as they start to slide, you're like, oh shit. Dear God, please help me with this thing. Make my crops grow, make my hair grow, make my feet grow. I don't know. But make life better. because I can't do it on my own and I can't figure things.
Yeah.
It's since the beginning of time.
Girl, I have 2 statements. One, my favorite thing about
Only
Parker.
2?
Currently. My favorite thing about Parker going to Gethsemane was when I think he said it to you when he was real pissed off that he was going to nail you to the cross.
Yeah.
Yeah. I literally almost died.
And he was 5.
Yeah, pissed. He was livid. Nail you to the cross, which I thought was hysterical. Who remembers?
You forgot your second statement. So you really only had 1.
I did. What were you saying before that?
Oh, who knows?
Yeah, girl, for real. Who even knows?
Who knows? I mean, we could rewind the tape and listen and find out what I said. Because I'm sure it was very important.
You know what I don't have? The time. When times of distress, people pray.
Yes.
People want God then. I will tell you the one and only time that I have genuinely prayed, quote unquote, to God was when my birth mother, Becky, was a real piece of shit alcoholic. She still is, but she was more so at this moment in time, and I was the only one there, and no one would help me. She was chaotic, and, like, my stepdad was at work. None of my aunts would come up. Like, no one would help me. And I remember it was a stormy day, and I just sat on the stoop of her house, and I was like, please, God, like, and, like, looking up the clouds, like, they're going to open up, and Jesus is going to come down. But, like, and then immediately after, though, I was like, damn, you're dumb, bitch. You are so weak and stupid. You literally just prayed to God, who you don't even believe in. Yeah.
I get that, because when I had my first heart issue, my husband, who is an atheist, is in the car. So, took me to the hospital. They did all the things. Well, then the hospital's like, we really can't help you. We're going to send you to the hospital where they're heart specialists. Mm-hmm. And they took me by ambulance from one hospital to the next.
Sure.
And all he was going to do was go home, grab some of my crap, meet me at the hospital. In the car, he found himself talking to God, going, don't let my wife die, whatever. And then as he was saying, he goes, who the fuck am I talking to? I don't even believe in God. And he found himself, surprised and kind of irritated that he was talking to this, being in the sky that he doesn't believe even exists.
Yeah.
And why is it the sky?
Well, because under the ground, that's where dead people are.
Right. Of course.
What do you think he's the god of the dead? Kinda. Yeah, girl, I know. And it's, I don't know, it's easier for me to believe in, like, a pantheon of fucking dysfunctional gods than it is for, like, the god.
Well, absolutely. I find it easier to believe that there's, like, this whole family.
Yeah.
And they all really kind of hate each other.
Yeah.
Because they all have a lot of power. And some of them have more power. And the ones who have lesser power really hate the ones with more power. Because they want to have more power. See, that, to me, that makes sense.
Wreaking havoc.
I mean, do I believe that's what really is? No. But it makes more sense to me.
I think
that there's this one God who has always been.
Yeah. Well, because I feel like the things that are happening on Earth would make sense then. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
If there's this family of gods who are dysfunctional and, like, throwing shit at each other and pushing each other off Mount Olympus or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, it makes more sense to me. But if there's some peaceful, all-loving, all-seeing, all-knowing God up there who's just allowing it.
That's the other thing that gets me, is these people of religion who will say, well, I have now just turned it all over to God. Mm-hmm. I've turned my problems over to God, and I'm going to, basically let Him handle it.
Yeah.
Okay, but those are the same people that will tell you when, Hurricane Helene is happening and wiping out, the eastern shore. Well, it's just God's plan.
Mm-hmm.
So God's plan is to senselessly kill hundreds of people and leave thousands of people without food, water, shelter. Mm-hmm. Why? How is that a plan?
And why do you think that's an appropriate plan? Like, why do you think that's an appropriate plan? Isn't it just easier to say...
But this is the same guy you're going to go, can you take care of my problems, please? Clearly, if he's busy creating problems for the rest of the world, why would he take care of yours?
Honey, I'm not going to go give my money to somebody who's addicted to gambling to be like, can you deal with my banking for me? The fuck is wrong with you? And I also don't understand why people... Well, it's God's plan. God sent a tornado that just ripped up the world. God, whatever, ruined everything. But It's just a part of his plan. Well, you know what? At this age, God should be better at planning. You know what I mean? How is this a part of his plan? People would be fired from their jobs if they planned this poorly. Like,
right.
Why is it okay if some deity who can see all and hear all and be everywhere and do all and all strong, why is it okay that he fucks up regularly? Like, why do you not have more expectation of a God? I don't know. It's tiring to me.
And then there's the people like that, what is it called, that Baptist church that hates everybody?
Westboro.
The Westboro Baptist Church.
Yeah.
That will say the reason that hurricane is happening, or just happened, is because of queer people.
Yeah.
You know,
believable.
The fact that there are queer people who keep being queer and do their queerness has made God angry, and so God's
God's just been angry then, bitch.
So I'm mad at you, but I'm going to punish folks down the street.
Yeah.
That makes total sense.
Well,
so that to me is like, wait a second. So God is mad at queer people because they continue to be queer.
Yeah.
So he made 9/11 happen, and he made earthquakes happen, and he made all this other shit happen. It's like, so this is that teacher who said, well, until somebody confesses, I'm going to punish everyone.
And then everyone puts pressure on the person who did it to confess. So then it's either you confess to a crime you did to an authority, or you lose all of your credibility in public opinion. That's why they do that shit.
Well, I know it's why they do it, but it's like, that's always been, to me, a bullshit thing.
Agreed.
But that's what that sounds like to me. It's like, I'm punishing everyone because of this group of people.
It's like you can't do your own job, so you're setting everyone else to your job for you. Like, you're boring. I don't know. I'm just so, girl, I can't. I can't because it's not even too much. It's just not good enough.
Well,
I'm
and
sorry.
to me, because I'm one of those people that's like, make it make sense.
Yeah.
And it doesn't.
No.
And it never has. I do understand the getting swept up in the moment of things, because I, as you know, I went to church all the time.
Yeah, 14 times a week or whatever.
14 times a week. And went to Christian camp every summer. And when they were having those big, like...
Tent revivals?
Tent revival kind of, but not really, because that's not really a white people thing.
Yeah.
And white Christianity could be more boring. But honestly, when I went to a black church, and it was all people singing and dancing and praising God, and it's easy to get swept up in that feeling because it's euphoric.
Yeah, no, totally.
And so, but when it's all over, it's like, oh. To me, it's kind of like sex. Yeah. Because in the moment, it's so euphoric. Yeah. But when it's over, it's over. And it's like you can look at it and go, yeah, that was great.
Totally.
And compartmentalize. And that's how I feel about religion. It's like when you're in one of... But listen, going to the white Christian church I grew up in couldn't have been more boring. Honestly.
That's just
you
so
sing
scary.
Funeral dirges for songs and you listen to a boring person.
Yeah.
If you were speaking to me like an evangelist, I'm there all day because, you make it interesting. There's pitches and fever and fire and things and just everything. Ooh. But if you're just like, and then God said, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. It's so funny.
So the euphoria of religion I can understand.
Totally. I hate the idea of, like, an evangelist. I don't like that. I think it's scary. I think it's too much. I think you're being intense for no reason. And I feel like...
Well, it's not for no reason. It's to be manipulative.
I know, and it scares me. Also, gospel music in general, like religious music in general, is they do something. I don't remember because I read about it in a class, but there's something to manipulate emotion. Yeah, because it's like musicals, like when the music swells when we both cry. Yeah, it's like that. But they do something so people feel really like, oh my God, this is like, it's singing to me. You know what I mean? I feel so connected to it. Yeah. But yeah, the whole tent revival thing is fucking terrifying because small town USA, I went to more than one, and our fucking traveling pastor touching people, praying over them, watching them convulse. Like,
yeah, that level, no thank you.
Well, and I remember him sitting, whoever, pastor, whatever, sitting next to me and saying, hey. I don't know, he's from the South or something. He said, are you okay? And I said, no. He's like, can I pray over you in the Holy Ghost? And I also said, no. He's like, why not? Are you scared? And I said, yeah. Do you not see that everyone's having a seizure, ma'am?
Right. I don't want to have a seizure. I don't have a seizure disorder.
Yeah.
And so I'd rather not have a seizure, so let's pass on that.
And if you touch me and I have a seizure, I'm calling the authorities. You know what I'm saying?
You just touch me. I'm calling
Oh, bitch, I'm a child. I know I'm big, bitch, but I'm a child. Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly.
You know, I'm going to shift because you were just talking about Christian songs and how they are also meant to manipulate.
Yeah,
and whatever.
totally.
For some dumb reason, and I think it must have... Oh, I actually know the dumb reason.
Okay.
The other night,
Okay.
I was in the kids' room and Grace says to me, will you pick some music on Alexa? And what I like to do is say, Alexa, play the Billboard hits of, and I'll pick a year.
Yeah.
It just so happens the year I picked that day was 1972.
Okay.
And one of the songs that came up was this song called Alone Again Naturally.
Okay.
Now, just from the title, you know this is a song about sadness and depression.
Yeah.
Literally, the first verse is about taking yourself to a building and jumping off. Because the first verse is, in a little while from now, if I'm not feeling any less sour, I promise myself to treat myself and visit a nearby tower, and climbing to the top to throw myself off in an effort to make clear to whoever what it's like when you're shattered. That's the first verse.
And this is the song you put your child to bed to.
Well, I just said 1972 and Gilbert O'Sullivan came up. But then it's like, for some reason, well, not again, but that song's been kind of stuck in my head.
Yeah.
But every verse is like, you know, God, you fucked up. You ruined my life.
Yeah,
I hate you. I hate everyone. I'm going to go kill myself.
Yeah.
But then today it got me thinking about songs from when I grew up that are like about death, about suicide, about, you know, or as my friend Alicia, who used to be a disc jockey, calls them, the dead teenager songs.
Yeah.
Like, what is that one called? Last Kiss. It's like you're out on a date and the car gets stranded on the train tracks and you guys get out of the car. You know the car's going to be totaled in a minute by the train, but at least you're out of it. You're
Yellow.
safe.
Yeah.
But the girl runs back to the car to get your ring because she left your ring in the car and now, of course, she's dead.
Oh.
And it's like, who wrote this?
Yeah.
And again,
Who approved
these
that?
songs are definitely meant to manipulate
Yeah.
emotions. There was a song around the same time as the other one I was just talking about called Seasons in the Sun.
Okay.
And that entire song is this guy talking to all the important people in his life saying, hey, just so you know, I thank you for the part of my life, but I'm dying. So it's like, yeah, you know, we had a great time.
Yeah.
Thank you ever so.
Yeah.
But I'm going to die now.
So bye. There were songs I remember growing up that were about suicide. The only one I can think of off the top of my head was a Blink-182 song called Adam's Song, and it was about this kid killing himself and basically apologizing and telling people it wasn't their fault. And it used to make me cry when I was a kid.
Well, sure. Again,
Yeah.
that's the manipulation of
Meant
it.
to make me cry.
I cry at lots of things, as well as you know, and as well as you do.
Yeah.
But I never cry at these songs because
Sure.
I'm all, you wrote a song about that?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, and now you're dead, and Leader of the Pack is another song that's like, you know, I had a date with this guy, but he decided to drive recklessly on his motorcycle. Now he's dead, and I'm sad. You know, it's like, dear God.
Those are my favorite.
Yeah, it's all manipulation.
Yeah, and I mean, they're pros at it at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Them.
So, I wanted to talk to you.
Me?
Yeah, you. Because nobody else is listening. So I want to talk to you
Okay.
about just kind of what's been going on. To y'all who listen to us, you know that I am the caregiver for my mother who has dementia.
Oh, yeah.
And being a caregiver is probably the most challenging job I've ever had. Not probably, it is. And it's tough.
Yeah?
It is so tough because there are days where I have to, as I said to my husband, I have to fight my inner Vesta, who is a sarcastic bitch.
Wants to verbally assault this old woman.
I do.
Yeah,
I
I
want
get
to
that.
say, when she says something crazy, I want to say, bitch, that's crazy.
Or
bitch, you crazy.
Mostly when she says something like cunty, when she's a real bitch about it.
Yeah. You know, because and I know a lot of people know this, but some people don't, that when dementia happens, people's personality changes. And sometimes it's a very fast change, sometimes it's a very slow change over time. Hers has been more of the slow kind of change over time. But the more her memory disappears, the kind of meaner she becomes.
Yeah.
And when I say something to her that she doesn't like, she comes back instantly with this snotty kind of whatever. But sometimes some things are just funny.
Yeah.
And because I am the horrible bitch that I am, I do laugh at things that probably... I don't laugh out loud at my mother. But I have giggles with you or someone else to go, this bitch.
Yeah.
You know. So yesterday, and you know this, of course, because I talked to you about it. Yesterday, how did it start? I'm trying to remember how it even started. Oh, I was telling her that I had done her laundry. I can never get her to bring me her laundry.
Of course.
So I sent the kids down to get laundry.
So you have to go steal it from
So
her.
they literally had to go searching her apartment for laundry.
For dirty
And
laundry.
found bags of dirty panties. But they also
Oh my
found...
God.
Parker found blankets that smelled like cat pee.
Of course.
But she was gone, so she didn't know any of this even happened. So, washed her stuff, washed her blankets. And I was saying to her yesterday morning, I was like, here is your clean laundry. And she looked perplexed, but she was perplexed anyway.
Yeah.
And I said, well, the kids went down to get your dirty laundry. And while they were down there, Parker grabbed these blankets because they smelled like cat pee. And she looks at me and says, well, I don't even have a cat, so I don't know how it could smell like cat pee. When she moved in with us, she had 36 cats. And no, I am not exaggerating. I love to exaggerate.
Yeah.
I'm not exaggerating.
No, and not 36 in her apartment.
No.
Let's make it very clear.
We had to build a structure in our backyard that is as big as a manufactured home.
It's as big as my house.
I think it might be bigger.
Okay, wow.
I mean, it's probably not as many square feet, but it's
Oh,
longer.
wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I get it.
because it's half the width, but it's longer. Anyway,
Yeah.
and she had, I think, 4 or 5 cats in her apartment.
Yeah, it's like...
And now she has 0.
Yeah.
But
Up until...
she
I
said,
don't know.
but she made it like she's never had a cat. She's like, I couldn't smell like that. I don't even have a cat. And I was like, what? You have at least the one who... No, he disappeared.
Oh, no. I remember she did this last time with her.
Her last cat that died, he just up and disappeared.
Someone took
vaporized
him.
into the walls. He was stolen. Because that's the other thing.
Yeah.
Is if something is no longer within her field of vision, it was stolen.
Yeah. All her underwear.
All of her underwear was stolen.
And now
most
you
of her good shirts.
And now you found her in a bag
Her
somewhere.
jeans. It's like whatever.
Yeah.
If she can't find it, because she's put it somewhere for safekeeping, and like under her mattress. And
Her underwear, yeah.
Well, she was pressing her jeans under her mattress too. I swear, I'm not making any of this up. So I was like, wait, what? Well, the cat disappeared. And I go, well, cats can't really disappear. Well, somebody took it. So, it's like, nobody would... Why would anybody take your ancient cat?
Yeah.
And she goes, well, all my cats are gone. They all died and blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, all of your cats were old. None of my cats were old. They were all babies.
No.
You moved into my house 13 years ago with cats that were already middle-aged.
Yeah.
And the youngest cat was like 5 years old, I think.
Yeah.
And so,
Babies.
no, they were all ancient.
Yeah.
They were all like Yoda. They were all so old and they all died one by
Yeah.
one.
They all are masters of the Force by this point, bitch.
So, I was like, okay, when she went for her walk, I'll go downstairs, I'll look and see if the cat's hiding somewhere. Because last time the cat was gone and somebody took it, it was in this little room, which is where the furnace is, which has a door on either side, and it got closed in there.
Yeah.
So, went down, let it out, there it was. And then when Parker said, I found your cat, it was like, she's like, okay. Like, I never said I didn't have
Yeah, we never argued about this a second ago.
Anyway, I went down and looked, I'm like, no cat. Okay, and then I asked the kids, you were down there yesterday getting laundry, did you see a cat? No.
Ugh.
Weird. And so we're like,
So
how does a cat
stressful.
just disappear? Is it dead somewhere?
I hate it.
And if it's dead somewhere, when are we going to start smelling it?
Oh, I hate it
You know?
even more. Yeah.
Well, I don't know why, but something said to me, ask your brother. Because my one brother visits her fairly regularly, takes her out to dinner, takes her out to visit his family, whatever.
Goes into her apartment with her.
And goes into her apartment with her. And he's the only one, because, only he and my other brother, older brother, visit her. So, whatever. Anyhow, so I sent him a message saying, hey, crazy question, which I'm sure you can't possibly know.
Yeah.
Do you by any chance know what happened to her cat? Because it's not there.
Yeah.
She says it disappeared. Obviously, it couldn't just disappear. But I was wondering if maybe she told you when she had a lucid moment.
Yeah.
His response was, she sold her car 2 years ago. And I said, not her car, her cat. I realized they were real close. And he's like, oh, I guess I should put on my glasses. Yeah, probably.
You dumb idiot.
And he says, yeah, I took it home and buried it. Ah.
Copy that. Thank you so much.
And then after we talked about that for a minute, I said, did you by chance take the last one and bury it as well? And he goes, yeah.
Oh, God. Okay. It's been like a year and a half.
So, mystery solved. Cats just died and they were taken and buried. And so when I said to my mother last night, I go, hey, mystery solved. Your cats didn't just up and disappear. You gave them to Bruce to bury them. Yeah. And she's like, well, it's still gone, isn't it? And real angry about it. I was like, okay, I was just hoping that might give you some relief.
I know.
That you know your cat didn't get out the door and get eaten by a dog or whatever.
There's literally no reason for you to be a snatch right now, Ho. Oh, I know. It is. She is just bitchy all the time. And I mean, or she's just quiet in the corner. You know, she's either real bitchy, real snotty, or I feel like she'll say something that she tries to make you feel dumb about. You know, like, she'll say something that has nothing to do with what we're talking about, or whatever. And I'll be like, but I always, my go-to is sarcasm, is to joke with her, but then she'll, like, close her eyes and kind of, like, look away and, like, roll her eyes a little bit, kind of to, like, my response, like, she was just kidding and I'm taking it too seriously, you know? And I'm like, okay, right, I'm the dumb bitch, you dumb bitch. Yeah.
What I realize more than anything is that and I've said this to you before, I'm so glad that I have support.
Agreed.
I have you, who I can honestly be a total cunt about all of it and say awful, horrible things, and you do not judge me for it.
Because I feel exactly the same way.
But then I have my husband who I can talk to and say, here's what's happening, and be more like, here's what actually happened in the day, and have him give me his spin or just go, yeah, that's a lot to deal with, I'm sorry. Yeah. But I need both. I need to be able to say, here are the problems of the day, but I also need to be a total bitch about everything to you and have you go, get it.
Honestly, I used to feel bad years ago, because at this point, bitch, years ago, because she's 80, she just turned 85.
Yeah.
We looked at that picture of me, her, and Parker from her 80th birthday party, and she's wearing heels and a little skirt, and she's mostly with it, but we thought she was crazy then, you know, and how much she had progressed, right? I used to feel bad about being irritated or feeling annoyed or sad. You know, like, I used to feel bad for feeling how I felt about what she's going through, right? But, like, I don't really feel bad for it. I don't feel bad about it in that sense. Like, it does bum me out, but I'm also like, how else do you expect people to react? You know what I mean? And if anyone else was talking to you in that way, if anyone else had behaved that way or did had made your house stink like that, there's no way they would have got away with it. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so, like, yeah, we get it. She has dementia. Yeah, we get it. She's sick. It's not her fault. All of that's very crystal clear. It's still irritating as fuck, you know? Yeah. And it's irritating for everybody. So I don't feel bad for saying that. I guess that's what I mean. I don't feel bad for feeling irritated. I don't feel bad for feeling annoyed.
Right. No, the thing is just to be kind and to her, which we are.
Of course, yeah. We don't say anything.
And then we talk shit when it's just us.
Yeah, we were raised right. We talk about people behind our back.
Oh my god. So I'm going to just tell you one more thing. I haven't told you this part yet.
Oh god.
So this morning,
okay,
I said, hey, Parker had an idea. Since your cat is now passed, how he thought it would be a good idea to donate the rest of your canned cat food to the Humane Society.
Yeah.
And she goes, I don't have any canned cat food. I was like, you do. It's out in the garage.
About 100 fucking things of it. Yeah.
Well, it's now down to about 20.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And I was like, well, you do, and whatever. And I said, don't you also have a bag of cat food? Or is that out in your chicken house? And she goes, well, it's out in the chicken house because that's what I feed my chicken now. And I said, and is that all the food you have for your chicken? And she goes, it is. And literally within the next breath, she said, oh, because I said, we can just go to the store and get you some chicken food.
Yeah.
And she said to me, oh, I did that yesterday. Well, but you just 1 second ago said you don't have any chicken food. But now you walked to the Safeway around the block
to get
chicken food.
Yeah, totally.
Like, oh, yeah, that's real.
I'm super on board.
That happened. She did walk to Safeway yesterday with my children and bought them marshmallows so they could have s'mores. But I don't believe there was any chicken food involved. But it was just like,
no.
And when I said, oh, where did that happen? And I said, oh, where did you find chicken food? And she did her usual, why are you questioning me?
Yeah.
Wow. I was just curious.
It was just
Sorry about
curiosity.
it. Sorry about it.
Yeah.
So if you find yourself in the same position I'm in, where make sure you have someone you can talk to. Make sure you take time for yourself. Make sure you take care of yourself, because if you do not, you are not going to be able to care for anybody else, because you're going to be a horrible bitch.
You know what? Rant. You know what? You can rant it all to us.
Yeah.
We can rant. We can talk about it for you and just change the names.
Right.
We're good writers.
Change the names to protect the innocent.
Yeah.
Or the guilty. We don't care.
Yeah, I'm into it.
All right. And so on that note,
we're leaving.
We're out of here because, stuff to do, things to do, people to do, all the things.
Yeah.
And if you want to rant at us,
I love that.
then do so, please, at itwouldseemasthough@gmail.com. Find us on any of the podcasting apps. Like, share, subscribe, tell a friend, tell an enemy. I don't care.
Oh, mostly our enemies.
But just make sure you listen.
Yeah.
And, tell us how you're feeling about all of it.
Yeah.
And if you have similar experiences, or if you have something else you want to talk about, we will talk about it.
Well, and listen,
because clearly we will talk about anything.
I also want to offer a new service.
Yeah?
If there's something that you need done, like, mostly if you need to write your letter of resignation, or you need to think of good things to say to your enemy the next time you argue, please let me know. I'll help you.
Oh,
that's
all.
all.
Right.
I want to help you be more cunty. That's all.
Wow. So the service is cunts or us?
Yeah, I don't like that. Cunts or us. I don't like that one. So we'll think of a new name.
We'll think of a new name.
A new name.
By the time we come back
we
next
will
week.
teach you to be cunty.
Because our show comes out every Wednesday.
It sure does.
And now I have nothing more to drink, so I gotta go.
know. I need to go take another nap.
Right.
Yeah.
I just need to get something else to drink because
Oh.
I'm dry now.
Oh, she's parched.
I'm parched.
Okay, well,
and
that's
so I will talk with y'all next week.
We'll see.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
It would seem as though